Hello everyone and welcome to another video. This one is going to be relatively special and it might also not have so much entertaining value. However, it is describing a project that I just did and I wanted to share with you guys because I found nothing about a project like this before, so I decided to put at least my content out there. As the title suggests, it is about a quite old PC case called the HAF 932 by Cooler Master, or in Germany it's just called HAF. And I have this case since more than 10 years. I bought it when it was relatively new. I did a lot of modding to it, painted it myself on the inside. As you can see, I changed a lot of the fans around. And I still like this case quite a lot. I mean, it's pretty big, you cannot really move it, it's too heavy. But it has more than enough room for a custom water cooling or whatever. It has no acoustic insulation, so you have to be careful what you put in. But still, if you like this case, you can have it running for years and years and years, as I have. And so I'm not planning to get rid of this case. And when I was looking at it for the last couple of months or maybe even years, I started to be bothered by this window on top here. So as you can see, it has a window which was pretty, I don't want to say revolutionary, but new for the time this case came out. However, it is not tempered glass, it's not even glass, it's just plastic, and not even the good kind of plastic. It's quite cheap, so whenever this gets dirty and you try to clean it, it just gets scratched up and everything. So you cannot really have this looking nice. And also you have this weird pattern of these silver lines over it. Maybe they've thought of shielding, or I don't know. However, I don't see the point of that and I don't really like it anymore. So I wanted to do something about it. So I thought, why not replace this plastic thing with something a lot nicer? Why not replace it with glass, maybe actually tempered glass, and see how that works out. So of course the first thing you have to do when you want to do something like that, and also something that I did, go away edge, not now, is you take this out. So as you will know, when you own this case, it has 10 of these mounting mechanisms, as I call them. They look a little bit like this. So you have a pin that sticks into this part, and when you stick the pin in, it extends on the other side, and this forms the clip that actually holds this in place. So when you want to remove this plastic thing, just push out all the 10 pins from behind, and then the plastic thing should just pop off and you should end up with something a little like this. So here you can see the actual plastic part that you can then take out. So as you can see here on the white background, it's not completely transparent plastic, but it has this gray in it, so it's, I don't know, in glass you call that smoked, so it would be like smoked plastic. So it's not completely transparent, but has this gray to it, and this obviously reduces the light transmitted through it, which can help highlight some of the lighting inside the PC and actually makes it look a little bit nicer. So this is also something that I wanted to retain in the glass part that I want to put in there. So obviously the first thing you want to do when you want to replicate an existing piece, a mechanical part like this window, is that you make a drawing or even a 3D model of it. And this is what I did, and this is also what I want to share here. So I put all the files, I put the CAD file and also the drawing over on Thingiverse, and I have a link to it. So if you want to do a project like this yourself, you don't have to start at zero like I did, but you can start with the drawings already done. So I took the measurements of this part and where all the screw holes are, and or the holes I should say, and the distance and everything. And I first made a 3D model that is linked below that just looks like this. So it has this exact shape of this window. And I also made the proper drawing for manufacturing with all the markings and all the sizes and everything. So the holes I measured to be 3.35 millimeters, but I drew it here as 3.4 since I guess nobody will be able to manufacture 3.35 millings. Also the curve radius is 7 millimeters. This is quite unusual. but you should take that if you want to have it actually fitting nicely. But yeah, I just show this here briefly. I have provided the links down to Thingiverse where you can find all these files. So this is the first thing I did. I just created these manufacturing diagrams, I will call it. So then I had these drawings, and then I started thinking, okay, how can I get this manufactured out of glass and maybe even out of tempered glass? And so I looked online, just Google searched something like glass cutting online or something, and this is obviously specific to your country, so just find some place in your country that offers this kind of service. Oftentimes they have like an online presence where you can just upload files, or you can select various parameters and get a quote there. However, this thing ended up being quite special, with the curvature radius of 7 millimeters and the thickness and everything else. So I ended up just uploading the manufacturing diagram that I just showed, and I'm showing here, to an email, and just sending an email to multiple companies and just waiting for the response. And some things that I found out that might apply to you in this case as well. The thickness of this part should be 3 millimeters. However, most places will offer this kind of glass only starting at 4 millimeters. So this is also what I ended up. So I wanted to get it in 3 millimeters, but I ended up getting it in 4 millimeters, and that's actually completely fine. The next thing is actually drilling the holes. So drilling, especially in tempered glass, is nearly impossible. So if you can get that manufactured, it will most likely be quite costly. So I got some quotes where just one of these holes being drilled would cost me $5 additionally. So that would be $50 just for drilling the holes. Plus, most places cannot give you drilling on 3.4, 3.5 millimeters. They will just start at 5 millimeters. So 5 millimeters is the minimum diameter for a drilling they can do. And then I've said, okay, when I'm not able to use the mounting mechanisms that was intended here, so these plastic clips, and these holes would be very expensive, I actually skipped the drilling completely. And I will talk about how I did it later. But this is also an option that you have to just say, okay, just give me this thing cut out, so just milled around the edges that it has the right shape, and deal with the rest later. And this is what I also did. And I actually paid, I think, 90 euros, so that's around about $90 for getting this part manufactured and shipped to me. I think this is a relatively normal price that you can expect. I also had another shop that asked double that, so $150 and upwards. So you might end up somewhere in the 100 euro or $100 range for getting a part like this manufactured. And at this point, the latest, it should be clear that this is not a project that makes economical sense, because you can basically buy a whole case with a tempered glass side panel for $90. But yeah, everybody can do that. So this is not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something a little special, and this is why I ended up with this project. So then, I just told this one manufacturer to make this part for me without any drillings out of 4 millimeter tempered glass, and I also chose the option to get me the smoked tempered glass, so with a slight gray taint to it. And this is what I arrived. Here I just have it laying loosely in my or on my side panel, so you can see it actually fits quite nicely. So the dimensions are completely correct. Also the curvature radius is pretty nice, but as you can see, it has no holes for mounting. And the first thing I noticed there is that my side panel is actually not all that flush. So as you can see here, when you align it on the opposite side, it might here stand up like a millimeter or 2 or even 3, because the side panel is just not completely flat. And this is not a problem with the plastic piece, because it has 10 hold down points, so it just bends into shape. But this is a problem with 4 millimeter tempered glass, because this is not easy to bend. So the first thing I did together with a friend of mine is try to bend the metal side panel into shape, roughly at least, so that then there is not so much clearance between the glass and the metal, so it sits relatively flush. And then I was able to mount it. One thing I just wanted to point out here when I have this picture open is that I'm actually very satisfied with the result of the glass that I received there. You can see it has this really nice rounded edges here, so no sharp edges at all, perfectly rounded off. And also because it's smoked glass, on these edges it actually appears to be black, which looks really nice and even blends in really nicely with the black of the case. So I'm really happy with that part, and I'm definitely happy also paying $90 for it, even if it doesn't make economical sense in the whole view. But just this part of glass is really a nice part, so I'm actually really happy with that. And so now to mounting, as I'm not able to use any kind of screws or anything, I just went for adhesive, and I got this 3M double-sided adhesive. And as you can see here, it's not just tape, it actually has a certain width to it. I would say maybe 0.5 millimeter or maybe even closer to 1 millimeter, and it's quite soft or spongy. So it's actually able to even out some of the gaps that might otherwise be underneath the glass, because it's not completely flush with the case side panel. So this is why I opted for this one, and this tape is a little bit wider than I would need. So here you can see what I did. I applied it to all of the let's say frame where the old glass was sitting, and then I cut with a relatively sharp knife a perfect square out of the inside of the tape where the old glass or the old plastic piece originally sat. And you can see, of course, I didn't do a perfect job here with cutting it and everything. So also in the end, it will not, of course, not look perfect this way, but still, I'm quite happy with the project. So this is this part done, and afterwards now I peel off the red part of the tape and put the glass on, and this is how it looks. And now looking from this angle with a direct light source, you can obviously see the imperfections of this. So you can see that even this tape that is able to bridge a little bit of distance is not making contact to the glass everywhere. However, it's about 50% of the area is making contact with the glass, and the other 50% is just not. And obviously this is not perfect, and you can see this even in the final assembled form, but this is what I ended up with, and this is what you would have to expect when you do it this way. A better method would have been maybe to use some liquid adhesive, maybe some silicone that you can just put in there, and that will fill all the holes, and then you can all just remove the excess once you're done. That would have been a more permanent and more neat solution. However, this is what I did, and I'm showing it here for reference with all the imperfections it has. But regardless of the imperfections, once you actually put that on the PC, as you can see here, again, you're able to see the imperfections where the glue is not making contact. But honestly, if you compare this side panel and this window now to how it looked before, it's really stunning. I actually like it a lot, and I like it a lot more than I had actually anticipated it. So I'm actually quite happy with the project all in all. And this is again how it looks like then on the whole PC. And I actually quite like this small window up here, because when you're sitting at an angle like this, you can see the most important components of the PC, so the CPU, RAM, and the heat sinks around the CPU on the main board. You can see, and the rest, like the graphics card, power supply, and the rest of the motherboard, which are maybe not so optically appealing, are hidden underneath. So I actually quite like this look now, and I'm quite happy that I did this project. And as I said, since I didn't find any information or any model or drawings or measurements of this part on the internet before, I decided to upload them to Thingiverse and make this video talking about them. So if you want to do this project, or if you want to maybe do something else with your HAF 932 case, now the information is out there. So if you really stuck to the end through all this waffling, thanks for watching. I hope this was somewhat interesting to you. and have fun replicating a project like this if you feel like it. See you in the next one. Bye.